Hey everyone, it's Andy here from Saving to Invest, and I just wanted to give a quick update today on a lot of questions I'm receiving around the Pandemic Emergency Unemployment Compensation Program. So, a lot of people are asking where is their 11-week extension, or some states are calling it PEUC 2.0 or PEUC 1.1. It's essentially the 11 weeks that was approved under the COVID relief bill, and I'll show you how it fits into the overall extension program shortly. And I also want to discuss some of the frequently asked questions and what people can do if they haven't seen their payment or their word on where it is. So, this is a compilation across several states, and so the rules do vary state by state. So, I just want to say this is informational, and always please check your state UI page, and there will always be unique situations that apply to people. But hopefully, the general information here is helpful and it can give you some guidance. As always, if you find the information here useful, please consider liking or subscribing below. It's free and you'll get the latest updates whenever I post new videos on these unemployment related topics. So just to give you some context of the enhanced benefit programs that were extended under the Continued Assistance Act, you can see the PEUC program, it fits in here. So all these programs were initially there under the CARES Act, which started last year in March, that was backdated to the beginning of January 2020. But then what happened is PUC sort of was effective from March 29th to December 26th. It only provided 13 weeks, but this was above and beyond regular unemployment. So a lot of states that had 26 weeks, I know some like Florida was shorter than that, but what it did was it provided 39 weeks, similar to the PUA program, which I've covered in another video. But what this was, it just extended regular UI. So same rules as regular UI, just provided 13 weeks of federal funding. It essentially just works like that. So applied to those group of sort of W-2 workers. And then, as part of the COVID relief bill under the Continued Assistance Act, it was extended for another 11 weeks, as you can see here. So, the key date to remember with PUC, any of the 11-week extensions, is that there are rules that apply if it was before December 27th, so just including December 26th and before the week ending. And then from December 27th to week ending Jan 2nd, that's when the extension period started. And so when you hear the word, either beginning a week, December 27th, or week ending Jan 2nd, 2021, that's the start of the CAA funded enhanced benefits. And that just means that the rules are a bit different, and any retroactive payments are only to the beginning of the extension period. So if you get the new 11 weeks, even if you're paid late by a state, as is the case for many of these programs due to the delayed rollouts, you will get retroactively paid to the beginning of 2020 or December 27th, technically the beginning of the extension period. So you don't go back retroactive to when you exhausted benefits, especially with PUC, because it was 13 weeks. A lot of people exhausted them in mid 2020 before they were able to go on to the extended benefits, state extended benefits, which is the other program some states had when the unemployment rate was very high. But for anyone who's got the benefits essentially in 2021, they'll really only be able to go back to the beginning of the continued assistance act period, which is the week of December 27th. So just keep that in mind as you go through, because some people assuming they go back all the way. That wasn't the case. I've covered a lot of these other programs in other videos, so you'll see that there. The one thing I'll call out here is if you do qualify for PEUC, you also get the $300 extra weekly payment, the FPUC program. So those two payments together are pretty significant, especially for states that have a high underlying unemployment weekly benefit amount. But hopefully this gives you a view of how they all work together. So what are the issues with the PEUC 1.1 or 2.0, the 11-week extension, right? And I'm calling it a pandemic mess because it has been a challenge for the states. And almost 1 to 2 million PEUC recipients who are eligible for benefits from December 27th or week ending Jan 2nd are missing out on their payments. And also then the $300 payment that comes on top of that. And this is across all states. So some are in different stages. If you had an active claim, which means you had remaining weeks from the previous program and you could carry those over, you were still getting paid. But then what happens is if you ran out of benefits and your state hadn't updated their systems to process the 11 weeks, you stop receiving benefits. So I'm counting these recipients as all those people who've missed out on benefits. And that's a lot, especially for people who have run out of extended state benefits, don't get regular UI. PEUC, this 11-week extension was critical for them to make ends meet. And to have almost 1 to 2 million people missing out on benefits, it's a pretty bad situation. Now this is rapidly improving. A lot of states towards the end of January and early February are updating their systems. They were initially focusing on PUA, but they're getting a lot of PEUC claimants done. The challenge is there's always going to be a pool of people who have complicated, unique situations which have to be manually processed, and those backlog of claims can't be done until the system upgrades are done. And speaking of system upgrades, it's really these are not. I mean, while the legislation has added new requirements for PUC and especially PUA around fraud and identity checks, the systems that a lot of these state UI agencies are with are old. They're 20, 30-year-old mainframe systems that are very used to working a certain way. And so when you're trying to do these rapid changes, they just can't handle it. So the testing processes, making sure that they can be audited, the staffing is stretched with COVID, people aren't working, plus they're also trying to pay out the existing programs. It's been a challenge for all states, and several of them have struggled, like Virginia, New Jersey, Florida, Nevada, even California. Just the surge of claimants, because there's millions of more people going for these benefits, plus the new rules, plus the antiquated systems have all just created a recipe for disaster. And because of the Department of Labor has provided the guidelines from the Congress passed legislation. There's a certain sequence of how this can be played. They have to check for their regular UI. They have to make sure that their benefit year hasn't changed, and all these things added together have meant that updating the systems has been challenging. Further, the states have to send notifications, so that process takes time. So claimants who don't get notifications can't even get through to people, and this is known. So the reason you're not able, states are not able to focus on existing claimants or people trying to ask questions is because they're spending all the time updating the system and trying to test and trying to pay out the existing benefits. So it's been a bit of a mess, and I acknowledge. I mean, I see hundreds of comments on a daily basis. All my videos are getting a lot of views on people just so frustrated with them not being even getting transparency from the states, which I think is could be done better. I find that social media gets you more answers than the actual state website. Again, some states are really good. I find Massachusetts, even New York, even Ohio and Wisconsin do provide better updates. Not saying it's always a fix, but at least it shows that they're trying to fix the issues. And then the big question I seem to be getting from a lot of people for PEUC is, do I need to file a new claim to get the 11-week extension? So this is a really dangerous one. So you have to be careful because there you just don't want to file a new claim if a state's still updating their systems, because what can happen is then if they update the systems and they start to reactivate a claim, they'll have an error, which means they could have to end up going to a manual processing for a claim because they'll find two claims tied to your social security number. So do not file a new claim unless you get a specific notification from your state to do so. Now, most people who are in new benefit year, and a benefit year is basically 52 weeks, since you started getting benefits under regular UI. And a lot of people have now gone into a new benefit year because this program started last year. You are most likely going to have to file a new claim, and that instructions will be provided. But for a lot of people, they're just being told to reopen or reactivate or keep certifying if they can for their claim. So I'd say be very careful about filing a new claim unless you get instructions to do so. But I'm seeing this is causing a lot of issues. A lot of people are, not sure what to do, and they're worried the payments have stopped, the benefits have exhausted, so they've started filing new claims. And this is again puts them back to the queue. It'll probably create confusion. The system won't be able to process it, and then you have to end up in a bit of a mess, and you have to then wait to get through to someone, an agency representative, or someone in the call center, and that could just take several weeks. So just be careful of filing a new claim. If you've already done so and you get notification that you shouldn't have done so, follow the instructions and notification, or you'll have to get in touch and someone to fix your situation. So again, I'm going to go into frequently asked questions now. Again, there's so many comments and questions. I've tried to take themes out, so hopefully that'll help you a little bit. But again, please like and subscribe. And if you will get more updates, I'll keep posting more updates. I'm doing state by state updates when I can get to it. But if you subscribe, you'll get those latest updates, and of course, it's free to you and it doesn't cost you. And you can always unsubscribe if you don't need this information anymore. So here's the questions I'll cover. You can have a look at these at the end. They'll all come together, but I'll go through them one by one. Again, these are generalized. Every state has their own rules. So like I said, I have state-specific pages for a lot of the states, and you can look at those. You can go to the state websites, state social media. There's a lot of good videos and articles on the different states, but do your homework. There's a lot of information out there, and you just need to make sure that you are, you realize what you can do, and just, be patient. So the first question I get a lot is, what can I do if the state UI agency has not updated their PEUC systems or programs? So a lot of states are in this situation. They may have not updated the system for certain group of claimants. For example, PUC claimants who had active weeks remaining from the CARES program as of December 26th, they could keep claiming and keep getting their PUC payment plus the $300 extra benefits. But then there's those who have exhausted benefits, who've run out of their PUC weeks, who could not get onto state extended benefits or regular UI. They just have to wait, and they've had a big gap in payments, especially those people who have exhausted benefits. So whether you're PUC or PUA, those are the groups that have struggled the most, as those who had exhausted their benefits, benefit weeks, or had a claim balance of zero, as some states like to call it. There's nothing you can really do. You have to wait for the state to update their systems to process the 11 extra weeks. Um, this is unfortunately, frustrating for a lot of people who need this money to make rent or just buy food for their families. So keep checking the state official website. I know the updates have not been great. States have been very poor doing this. I'm trying to do it. I know there's other people in the ecosystem trying to help you. A lot of good videos, but there's not much you can do. You just have to wait for them to notify you when they've updated their systems, and they have to legally send you a notification with instructions on what to do. So you'll most likely get that. You'll have to just, as soon as you get that, your weeks can either be automatically added, or you may have to file a new claim. And so this is a question I get, and I covered this earlier. Do I have to file a new claim or reapply? So most likely yes, and it'll depend on your benefit year. This is a big thing. So if your benefit year expired, you probably will have to file a new claim. That's normally the case even for regular UI. There's also people who are on extended benefits. If you had extended benefits earlier, you can keep filing those prior to December 26th. You keep filing those until you use those up, then you go back into PEUC. But you will get an instruction from your state to reactivate or reopen an existing claim. Do not, again, I said before, just be very careful. Do not apply for a new claim and go back to the end of the queue if this is the case. So a lot of people are asking, my state is several weeks late. Will I get backdated or retroactive payments? Yes, you will. You're legally eligible to get all your extra weeks that you can certify for. So in some states, they will automatically add those 11 weeks that you can, or those past weeks that you can claim. So people, for example, in January have got 4 weeks added to their UI portal, and they can go back and certify for those weeks, and then they'll get paid for those 4 weeks, including the $300 payment. But there are states, for example, in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, where you do need to do a manual intervention. They've given again, they will give you instructions, either send an email, log into your portal to go back and request those back payment weeks. So just pay attention to what the state is telling you. It will be automatic in some places it will be manual, but if you certify, you will get backdated payments. So a lot of people are already getting lump sums. Some I've seen people get, 4 weeks all in one lump sum, or they get it paid over, a couple of weeks as states catch up on payments. So you will get backdated retroactive payments if you're eligible for them. So this is one, can I get regular UI and state extended benefits before PEUC? No. So you must first get your regular UI, and then you can get PEUC. And then after, if you use up both regular UI and your PEUC, then you can apply for state extended benefits if your state's offering them for high unemployment periods. It's not all states. Now, before December 27th, if you already on state extended benefits, you get a chance to use those up and then go into the PEUC program. So that worked out well. But for most people who now apply in 2021, they will first have to, the state will have to confirm that they can't get regular UI, especially if they're in a new benefit year. They'll check that again, and then they get reactivated for regular UI. They have to finish that, then they can go for the PEUC program, and then they can go for state extended benefits. So that order is important for 2021. This does mean, and this is what's caused some of the complications in the programming. They have to put these checks in place because people could have different combinations of these things, and it depends on if they've used up, if they're in the new benefit year or they're still in their existing benefit year. So that's why it's made it complicated. And check your UI portal. When you started filing your claim, that's when your benefit year started. So you just want to make sure that you have the right benefit year. And every state has slightly different definitions of how they calculate your weekly base salary amount. That'll determine how much you get in benefits as well. So that's important to think about as you look at your calculations. The one thing to note is if you run out of all these programs and you still can't get a job because of COVID, you can actually be eligible for PUA. I know there's some people saying you can't get PUC and PUA. That's true, you can't get them at the same time. But if you use up all your existing state benefits and you're still impacted by COVID-related reasons, it's important, it has to be COVID-related reasons, you can still get pandemic unemployment assistance, which is a whole separate program and gives you another up to 50 weeks in total, with 11 weeks for the extension. And the last one I get a lot of questions is how much do I get? So because the PEUC is an extension of your regular unemployment program, it is going to be the same as your regular UC weekly benefit if you were getting that, right? And the state determines that based on your prior 4 quarters. And every state has a pretty detailed calculation mechanism that's pretty well established, and that's not going to change. So the important thing is if your benefit year changes, your PEUC may drop because your income could have been lower the previous year due to a loss of a job or other reasons. So be mindful that your PEUC amount that you were getting in 2020 could be different to 2021, and you'll be because your benefit year has changed and your weekly benefit amount has also dropped. So you'll have to see what your state agency determines for you. Well, I hope that information was useful to you. These are just some of the general questions. Again, like I said, if this was helpful, please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. This is free, and you'll keep getting the latest videos. You can also see some links below. I'm going to post on some more information. And as always, please leave a comment, and I'll try and get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks. Bye.